Alright, boom. So today we got a $140 million nobody exposed at Dark Side of Football. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it's euros, my fault, not dollars. But I don't know too much about him. But is football really always this corrupt? Because with this World Cup, people kept saying Argentina was getting it rigged for them to go through and make it to the finals and stuff. And like Spain still beat them though. But then in the comments, other people are saying Spain got it rigged for them. They had to win so the FIFA president could stay in power and stuff. Donald Trump getting red cards reversed. Like he literally tweeted, "Oh yeah, I'm about to get this reversed right now." Like he already knew it was a done deal. He was not supposed to play that next game. Like it's a ban, right? The next game, he got it reversed. That being said, bro, I don't know if it's always this world corrupt or if it's just this World Cup. You feel me? It is like one of my first World Cups to paying real attention. You feel me? Just getting into the sport. But with that being said, let's just get straight into the video.
46 matches, 15 goals, 140 million euros. Yes, that is unbelievable.
What?
But after going down the rabbit hole and seeing all of the shady business behind this transfer, all I can say is that the fee is the least of our problems. We've reached a point where agents, investment groups and talent networks are working together to exploit young talents in a way that can only be described as modern-day slavery. The way they've isolated Diamande and leached off of his talent, putting their profit ahead of his well-being, effectively treating him like a piece of cattle, goes beyond any sense of human decency. Let's get this straight, Diamande was easy pickings for these guys. Abandoned by his father as a child, he grew up in a house he shared with 25 family members. Every second of his day was spent out playing football, wearing a fake Man United shirt with Ronaldo 7 written on the back with a marker. There was no one to protect him. The only person he could rely on was his younger sister, who idolized him so much. She'd follow him wherever he went, play acting as his agent, telling everyone that Mbappe is good, but my brother is way better. And she may have had a point, because at only 10 years old, they found him. A man named Buakar Bamba took the kid 100 kilometers away to an academy he owned, and without a male figure in his life, once Bamba took a special liking for Diamande, even bringing him into his own house over the summer holidays while the rest of the kids went back to their families, inevitably, he became like a father to him. But it would soon become clear this wasn't all done with the kid's best interests in mind. Only 15 years old and already balling out for
I'm not gonna lie, his story in like 1 minute, it seems like hard as fuck, bro. It seems like genuinely his whole life is hard, bro. And then somebody comes and tries to, like, you feel me, take advantage of him immediately the second they see a little bit of talent.
As under 17s, Diamande was now spotted by Rainbow Sports Global, a massive African talent network funded by Blue Crow, an American multi-club investment group. And their proposal for Bamba was simple. Sign Diamande off to us, we'll get him a pre-contract with Leganes, by the way, a club they would soon own. And in the meantime, since he can't legally join the club, we'll take him to America and make sure you get rewarded for it. Now, what was the problem with this? It wasn't Bamba's to sign off to anyone. Not only did he not have any rights over Diamande, the kid was underage. If there was anyone they should be talking to, it was his parents. As Diamande himself would eventually admit in an interview, I don't know why they chose to send me to the US. I was young. I couldn't make decisions myself, so other people made them for me. I was simply told to go, so that's what I did. I wasn't aware of anything, the connections, the contracts with this person or that person. Yeah. Still, regardless of the implications, this was a huge opportunity. Even though Diamande arrived in the US
not knowing... This is happening to how many kids in Africa, though? Like, generally, not even Africa, in South America, every, like, poor part of the world where there's a lot of talent, bro. Like... He doesn't even know what's going on. He literally said when he's older, he has no clue what's going on. He just like
a single word of English, literally learning it through Duolingo, completely stunned with culture shock, repeatedly calling his sister in disbelief of how unhealthy the food was and how the kids would smoke after school and argue with the teachers. Well, to say that American high school soccer was below him would be an understatement. Immediately, he sent his team towards an undefeated season as their top scorer and player of the year. He made them so good that his matches started attracting bigger crowds than the school's basketball team. In his own words,
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like American high schools would be crazier than even for UK kids to come over. It'd be like an insane culture shock, bro. And I feel like they like super free compared to other kids. But is our like level of soccer or football like that bad compared to the rest of the world, like in high school where we'd be getting crushed? Like he got over here, they went and beat immediately, bro. He's like LeBron.
Passionate about soccer at all, but within a year, it became the #1 sport thanks to me. It was such a shocking
didn't care.
sight for the local coaches that when the MLS's Colorado Rapids came into town, they got him a chance to train with their team, and within a few hours their manager was calling them saying that Dio had just made our captain look foolish. So after that,
MLS team, like an adult, like
they got a
captain,
4th
bro?
division club to take him, and it was the same old story. Dio was so good, the manager began playing him at wingback, supposedly because the sooner we get the ball to him, the better, because when he had it, no one could really stop him. And as archaic as it sounds, it worked. Dio scored in all 6 rounds of the playoffs, getting both of their goals in the final to lead them to their first ever title. And it should have been no wonder, because by then, it was only a year away from playing in the Bundesliga. Though his journey there would once again be anything but straightforward. You see, the question everyone always asks is, how come no MLS club signed him? And Diamante's answer is that it was just not the ambition of the people who were looking after me. In fact, he had already traveled all over Europe on trial after trial. He had even met up with Pochettino at Chelsea and taken part in a training session at Crystal
MLS clubs, one of them, Chelsea, is a big club. I don't know about Crystal Palace, but we do know Chelsea like was like one of the biggest clubs in England.
Palace, getting complimented by Eze and Olise. It was clear the kid was phenomenal, yet they kept telling him there had been no offers.
I mean, that's no offense to Crystal Palace, bro. I just remember Chelsea. We are just like getting into this, so I remember.
Wrote in a letter to his sister, nobody would sign me. Even the B teams in the MLS didn't want me, and I didn't even know why. They never gave me a reason. Until one day, my visa was up, my dream was over. They sent me back to Africa and we cried together. I shouldn't have to tell you how sketchy this all sounds. The reality was that as it became clear just how much money would be involved in this kid's future, all the leeches started fighting over who had the right to what percentage of the money. The likes of Nottingham Forest and Olympiacos all had medical examinations and traveling arrangements sorted, having closed the deal with one of these entities, yet every time one of them would come out of the woodwork to stop the transfer until eventually the whole situation got so messy that Blue Crow completely destroyed their partnership with Rainbow, went behind their backs, and convinced Diamante to come to Leganes with the help of Bamba, who according to Roman Molina not only took substantial commissions but received a percentage of Diamante's salary without Diamante fully understanding what was happening.
Bro. I'm not gonna lie, this is insane.
Strangeness doesn't end there. Once in Spain, Diamante was sent into their 5th Division B team despite earning a salary well above the average, which is rather interesting considering the player himself admitted to living in the club's facilities because he could not afford an apartment. Regardless, 5 months later, having played only 1 match with the reserves, they played an exhibition game against the first team, and he shocked the coaching staff so much that within a matter of days, they had him debuting at the Santiago Bernabeu, trading his shirt with Mbappe, hoping to bring it back to his sister when, out of nowhere, he received the news that she had passed. As he wrote in that letter to her, I used to have emotions, now I don't feel anything. Since you died, it's like I'm not even human. You were 15, somebody put something in your drink at a party and you never woke up. Maybe it was jealousy, I don't know. I was wrong about one thing. I don't want to be rich, I see what it does to people. I just want to do everything to show the world my sister was right. But they weren't done with him. Because as the season
Somebody put just something in a 15-year-old's drink, bro, is actually insane. I ain't gonna lie, killing anybody like that is crazy, bro. But a child
ended,
like,
even without
kid,
any
bro.
prior top-flight experience, Diamante had 4 goal contributions in just 542 minutes, already challenging Yamal for dribbles completed and chances created. Leganes had literally gotten relegated, yet their manager was adamant that Diamante would have had us pushing for Europe. Yeah, once Leipzig's data scouts saw those stats, the whole department sent out a red alert, and their message was, sign him now. All they needed was a thumbs up from their chief football officer, some guy by the name of Jurgen Klopp. And once they got it, they did what PSV, Monaco and Sunderland were afraid to. They triggered his buyout clause. I repeat, Leipzig, who had just missed out on qualification for the Champions League, being forced to tighten their budget and make 100 million in player sales, spent 20 million on a player with 10 total matches in his career. But still, once all the reports came in asking what in the world were they thinking, how they could take such a risk, they replied, a risk? This is an opportunity, insisting that they believe they could double or triple that Diamande could be worth 100 million within a couple of years. However, if this move seemed to have gone far too smoothly, I regret to inform you that it would come back to bite him. Regardless, given how quickly he adapted to Germany, given the work rate he put on display, no wonder these guys were so confident. As Diamande told it, in those first weeks, I'd arrive 40 minutes before training and they'd still find me saying I was late. In Germany, there is no life. It's work, work, work. But they should have known I have no chill either. I started arriving so early that the guys nicknamed me the German. That's the thing about him. By now, he was immune to culture shock, so much so that he scored just 6 minutes into his first game, instantly convincing the Ivorian national team to call him up for what were the final two qualifiers for the AFCON. This time, not just scoring on his debut, but doubling down in that second match to help them clutch direct qualification by a single point. And though, once back, the Germans tried to get him to take things slowly. On the final match of October, they put him in the starting 11 against Augsburg, and 10 minutes in, he caught onto the ball, dashed in between and scored again. 12 minutes later, he had an assist, and before they had time to sub him off, he had already assisted another as the commentator shouted that it was far too easy for him. And
I'm not really telling him to take it easy, bro, but generally he's too good. Like, he's been so talented, but he's like, every single time he can make a move like to the MLS or any of those teams, bro. He could have been in a Premier League team, bro. He could have played in the MLS. He could have done so much, bro. People keep getting in his way.
Completely ambidextrous and a menace both in tight spaces and over longer distances. It's not hard to understand what every club sees in him. It's just inevitable. And so, by the very next game, he was already going on another run and forcing an own goal, before showing up just 8 minutes later, cutting in and smacking it at the near post, which, of course, he proceeded to repeat almost exactly a week later, celebrating with one hand on his heart and the other raised with his fingers crossed as a reminder of the promise he had made his sister. Even once he broke his nose in training, there was no stopping him. He just put on a protective mask, showed up for the next cup game, grabbed an assist, and then absolutely demolished Eintracht Frankfurt, grabbing a quick first goal, then making it 2, and then dribbling the keeper to make it a hat-trick within just 18 minutes, becoming the youngest to get one in the Bundesliga since 1965. As one newspaper wrote that, the man with the mask might as well have worn a cape. By the end of December, even as the Bundesliga came to a halt in time...
Superior, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't hear about him, bro. Like, there's so many stars and stuff you never hear about because America, we don't be tapped into football like that.
For the winter break, Diamande just kept going, flying out for the African Cup of Nations as its #1 ranked prospect, and proving to be worthy of the title by scoring in his first ever knockout game, and coming out on top as the player with the most successful dribbles in the tournament, even if he only played 55% of the total minutes. Less than 3 months had passed since that first great performance at Augsburg, and Leipzig were already getting dangerously close to watching their massive bet pay off as multiple clubs approached them in January trying to sign Diamande. Yet, they insisted on the 100 million. And they were right to. Because after 2 assists against Heidenheim and a screamer against St. Pauli, as they struggled to break into the top 4 and secure their UCL spot, Diamande shifted into a higher gear. Suddenly, it seemed like he was man of the match virtually every single time, creating chance after chance, barely ever losing a duel, and of course, constantly putting his name on the board. It started with a goal against Wolfsburg to clutch a point, then a ridiculous assist against Dortmund to make it 2. By the third game of that streak, he was posterizing 6 defenders to get him 3 more points. And though following another ridiculously powerful run versus Augsburg, they would be defeated by their direct rival Stuttgart and drop back out of the top 4. Then Diamande, probably already bored of being named Rookie of the Month, would open the month of April with 8 successful dribbles against Mönchengladbach, the most by any player in a match that season, aside from, of course, himself against Köln, himself against Heidenheim, time. On top of it all, creating 2
So he's top 3 dribbles in the entire league. Like, he got all top 3 spots.
and getting the winning goal. But if anyone still doubted that he had made the Bundesliga his playground, then a week later, he opened the score against Frankfurt with a goal that probably gave post-traumatic stress to half of their defensive line. And also brought him to 20 goal contributions for the season, the only under-24 player to reach that mark, aside from Lamine Yamal. Yeah, had a cheeky assist the following game and it was done and dusted. Diamande was the player of the month. And a couple weeks later, as it all came to an end, with Leipzig confirming their qualification to the Champions League, it was also succeeding the likes of Dembele and Michael Olise as the Bundesliga's new Rookie of the Year. Which, maybe putting it lightly, look, it's hard to put into words just how impressive this guy was. Sure, he's a dribbler, you got that already, but so are Luis Diaz, Michael Olise, or Antonio Nusa, right? No, those 3 are the best in the Bundesliga, but they completed just 61, 65, and 68 dribbles. Diamande reached 118. Only Yamal completed more across the top 5 leagues, and that's in great part because he also attempted so many more. Not a single one of the top dribblers in Europe gets even close to Diamande's success rate. Add to that the fact that only Olise created more expected assists, and that he recorded a higher top speed than the likes of Karim Adeyemi, and it's easy to see why Liverpool were already willing to match Leipzig's asking price. But, of course, this was when the machine started turning again. So, back when Diamande signed with Leipzig, with everyone at Rainbow having been kicked to the curb, they needed someone that was registered within FIFA to represent
him. They got his way again, bro.
So they got an agency named Maxidel to do it. But of course, they had second intentions. Almost immediately, they began acting as if Diamande was now permanently signed to them, meaning that when he actually signed with Jay-Z's Rock Nation midway through the season, they did everything to stop the deal, somehow managing to get themselves registered within the English FA as his representatives, meaning now they were popping back up out of nowhere, trying to claim all the commissions from this Liverpool move for themselves. Between those two, Blue Crow, Rainbow, and Bamba, there were now 5 different entities trying to siphon money from this transfer. So, naturally, the first decision was to put aside any Premier League moves in order to take Maxidel out of the equation, which allowed PSG to take the lead, but only temporarily because then the World Cup started. And once there, with Diamande opening the tournament with a man-of-the-match performance despite being the youngest to ever represent the Ivory Coast, and then creating the goal that led his country to their first ever knockout stage, he reached a whole new level of notoriety, after which, suddenly, he received a phone call from Jose Mourinho speaking to him in French, convincing him to come to Real instead, as it turned out that after weeks of speculation of a move for Olise, Diamande...
So he got called personally to make a call, like Real Madrid personally phoned him up and say, yo, don't go to PSG, don't go to Liverpool, pull up to us.
They had always been the 100 million euro signing Florentino had promised. They were just figuring out exactly how to fix this whole mess. In the end, reportedly paying 5 million to Leganes, who now have been sold and don't even belong to Blue Crow anymore, 120 million to Leipzig, and a separate 20 million to Rock Nation in agent fees and commissions, while Rainbow and Bamba were left out, even though they still hold 30 and 10% of his image rights respectively. And finally, Maxidel was left with nothing, though there is an ongoing lawsuit, so all I can say is, good luck to Diamande.
Shout out Diamande, man. With that being said, bro, now that he has legal backing and money and stuff, bro, I don't think it's gonna go how they want, bro. 4 of the 5 teams already got a piece. I don't think he's gonna let the 5, company get a piece, not team, my fault. Like, you're not getting nothing, bro. He just made like 100 mil off a contract. He's lawyering up. I promise you, he's not letting y'all eat off him, and he better get his image rights back, bro. That being said, bro, I ain't gonna lie, his story was sad and depressing as shit, bro, to be honest. Like, from the beginning to, like, everything that happened with his family, his sister, the coach taking advantage of him, all these companies trying to siphon his money. He could have been in the MLS. He could have played for Chelsea. He could have played for Crystal Palace. I think that's, bro, he could have done so much, bro, but they said nah. With that being said, bro, I'm seeing you on the next one.